Last year, obviously, we reported a great deal and spoke a great deal about the situation in Gaza, the ongoing conflict there. Of course, a ceasefire has now been in place, albeit perhaps a rather tremulous one for a little while now. Interesting story over the last couple of days. Reported around the world, CNN, Haaretz and others, BBC, saying that the Israeli military has acknowledged in a briefing to Israeli journalists that approximately 70,000 Palestinians were killed during the war in Gaza, and that the figures from the Health Ministry in the enclave were largely accurate. This is Israeli newspaper Yediot Aharonoth quoting military officials Thursday as saying, "We estimate that about 70,000 Gazans were killed in the war, not including the missing." Now, of course, earlier in the war, Israel repeatedly cast doubt on the number of Palestinians the IDF had killed in its attacks, or certainly civilians anyway, repeatedly accusing the Health Ministry, which it says is controlled by Hamas, of inflating the figures. So obviously a potentially important development. Let's try and get some answers on this from Alex Gandler, who's a spokesman for the Israeli embassy here in London. Mr. Gandler, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Obviously, this seems to have been a little confusing in the sense this appears to be a briefing which is being reported by Israeli newspapers, among others. Is that the case? Does the Israeli government now accept that 70,000 figure?
Shalom, Lewis. Good morning. No, we completely denied it as well a couple of hours after that news came out on Haaretz, as you said, and was picked up by probably all news sources around the world. There was a complete denial by the IDF to that briefing and to what was said. So I know it sounds like news and everyone reported it, but the details that were published do not reflect official IDF data.
Has the IDF therefore got an alternative figure?
No, not that I know of. I haven't seen any numbers coming out of the IDF. Any numbers, from my understanding, will come through official channels and not through a briefing of sorts to journalists, but probably would be will be coordinated through an official document, an official statement, but not that I know of at the moment.
Why do we think, therefore, that this story has emerged, and that it does seem, I mean, these are reputable news organisations that have carried this story? Why would it be that this figure made this up?
No, I completely agree. Reputable news organizations, but what they did, the technique, the journalistic technique that was used was a quote from a story by another journalist, probably from Haaretz, if I'm not mistaken. That was the first source, and then everyone picked it up. It wasn't told to them. I don't know if you've been in contact with the IDF spokesperson's unit or anyone else, but these are not official figures, and the IDF came out a couple of hours later completely denying it very, very straightforwardly.
Of course, as I say, throughout the war, the Israeli government repeatedly refused to accept the 70,000 figure, and obviously the lesser versions of that as the war preceded that point. But as you say yourself, I'm not aware of a figure that the IDF has put out there, or the Israeli government has put out there as an alternative. Obviously, the ceasefire is now in place, albeit perhaps holding only marginally. There are many people, obviously, this continues to be a source of enormous anger, pain in every single direction, and would like to know and think it is a matter of historic importance to verify and establish how many civilians were killed as a result of IDF action. Don't you think we ought to be provided with that figure or some approximation of it? Not least for your own purposes, because if you don't, then people will accept this 70,000 figure or be more likely to.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's been a contested thing over the last couple of years that we've seen most people either accept the Hamas run number or even exaggerate it. I've heard numbers as up as 360 or 680,000 deaths. Obviously, that is not, or does not take into account how many Hamas members have died, how many Hamas members killed other civilians, Palestinian Islamic Jihad rockets hitting their own hospitals, such as the case of El Hali Hospital, and other instances, natural deaths within Gaza Strip and so on.
But you do accept there's a profound civilian loss of life as a result of IDF action?
I think that there's a civilian loss of life, a profound civilian loss of life in Gaza as part of this war. It's through very different avenues. Some of them, we saw after the ceasefire when Hamas took over the Gaza Strip and started shooting people in the streets.
Yes.
kneecapping people.
But sure, but there was also
I
profound
understand.
loss of life as a result of Israeli
I understand.
military.
I don't. Listen, let's not be juvenile about it. This was a prolonged, very hard war in an urban environment. Obviously, loss of civilian life was there.
And it's still going on.
One thing,
it's still going. It's still going on, Mr. Gandler.
Let's speak about this as well. Let's speak about yesterday.
Yes, because I mean, it's been reported again. This is BBC reporting now. At least 32 people being killed in a wave of Israeli airstrikes across the Gaza Strip on Saturday, according to local authorities. Do you have an estimate for how many civilians were killed as part of that?
No, I saw only the news reports. I haven't figured out the data myself through the IDF. I will say this: I did receive the explanation to why this happened. And unfortunately, there's something underreported, and I'm happy. This is one of the reasons I agreed to take this interview. Hamas has been violating the ceasefire over and over again for the past several months. We've had our soldiers shot at, Hamas trying to infiltrate beyond the yellow line. You've probably heard about Ran Gvili, the last hostage that was recovered from Gaza. His body was found in a cemetery. That cemetery was a very hard position for us to dig through and to find his body because it was adjacent to the yellow line. While they were digging for his body to try to recognize his body, they were shot at by Hamas. These things, unfortunately, are extremely underreported. So yesterday's attack, as an explanation to that, was carried out after 8 Hamas members crossed the yellow line east of Rafah, trying to attack IDF soldiers. The attack yesterday was directed at 4 senior Hamas commanders, one of them staying at a Hamas police station, the other ones in different parts of Gaza City.
Is the ceasefire, do you think that the ceasefire will hold?
I do. To be honest, I'm a bit more optimistic. It's hard. Listen, the 20-point program, it starts off with point number 3, if I'm not mistaken, talking about in the first 72 hours, all hostages alive or dead will be given to Israel.
Do you think
we could have said that Hamas has violated the ceasefire, but we decided to persevere and give them time. We gave them a lot of time. We gave them more than 2.5 months to bring back the last hostage alive after the 72 hours.
On the 30th of December.
We are trying our best. And today, the Rafah crossing is opened.
On the 30th of December, Israel announced that the government will be revoking the licenses of 37 NGOs working in Gaza, including the Norwegian Refugee Council, International Rescue Committee, Action Aid, Oxfam, and others. Is that still in place?
So it's not revoking the licenses. We've asked all organizations, all NGOs working in Gaza in order to renew their license to work through Israel because that's their entry point.
Well, in an open letter, with respect, Mr. Gandler, in an open letter, more than 50 of these NGOs have said the ban is gravely impeding aid access into Gaza. So whether you're saying it's a revocation or whether they just have to reapply, the effect is the same, which is to take away and denude some of the world's most vulnerable people of aid.
Well, first of all, there are more than 20 organizations that are currently operating in Gaza who have renewed their license to operate in Gaza and go through Israel. We've asked for a very simple thing. We've asked for a list of employees because we know that the employees that were previously used by different organizations were not only directly connected to Hamas, but at some point controlled these organizations as the local leaders. So you've had Hamas members as part of these organizations.
Well, in a joint statement, the foreign ministers of the UK, France, Canada, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Japan, Norway, Sweden, and Switzerland have said that all of these organizations are integral to the humanitarian response in Gaza, and any attempt to stem their ability to operate is unacceptable. I mean, that is self-evidently the case, isn't it?
We'll be happy to grant the permission to those organizations to work in Gaza. It's not a problem. We asked for...
Well, then why take it away?
We haven't taken it away. We've requested one simple thing, which they will not provide, which is a list of employees.
The UN Human Rights Chief, Volker Turk, has called the suspensions outrageous and arbitrary.
You can definitely quote anyone else as well. It does not change the fact that the only thing we're asking for is a list of employees, because previously those employees that were hired by NGOs have been found out to be Hamas members operating as handlers for those organizations in Gaza.
And so the people, those in Gaza who are among the most vulnerable in the world, they have to pay the price for that, do they?
Well, first of all, there are more than 20 NGOs working in Gaza, including UN organizations. So everything that is needed currently is being taken care of. We're calling on all other organizations that do want to work in Gaza to hand over those employees, those employee lists. It's not a question if those services are given or not. By the way, I'll give you an example. MSF, which is a huge medical organization, is actually operating less than 1% of the medical aid going into Gaza. Less than one. Really, to be honest, we don't need them to be there in order for everything to work fine. They're welcome to come and help.
Alex Gandler there.
They're not needed.
Alex Gandler, grateful for your time. Spokesperson for the Israeli embassy there. Alex Gandler.